This is your news source evening bulletin for today, Monday, the 20th day of March in the year 2023. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting, and here's what we're tracking tonight. Officials of the U.S. government are engaging the Guyanese authorities on cybercrime issues and solutions. Today, a meeting was hosted between the Deputy Assistant Attorney General in the U.S. Department of Justice, Richard Downing, Cybersecurity Program Manager from the Secretariat of the Inter-American Committee Against Terrorism of the Organization of American States, Carrie Ann Barrett, a team of Department of Justice cyber experts, and Guyanese security and government officials. At the meeting held today, the U.S. Embassy said issues related to cybersecurity solutions were discussed. The visiting officials engaged the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Elizabeth Harper, along with representatives from the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, the Ministry of Legal Affairs and the Attorney General's Chambers, the Ministry of Home Affairs, and the Guyana Police Force. The U.S. government team encouraged Guyana's accession to the Budapest Convention, or the Convention on Cybercrime, which would offer additional resources to strengthen domestic capacity for law enforcement responses when combating cybercrimes. The U.S. Embassy said the crucial step will help Guyana combat cybercrime threats as it undergoes a major economic transformation. Additionally, the Department of Justice cyber team, in conjunction with the OAS, offered technical support toward the development of national cybercrime frameworks to combat cybercrimes, especially in the security and energy sectors. The team proposed similar support for CARICOM countries. In addition to the visit by the DOJ, the U.S. Southern Command and the Florida National Guard will send a cyber defense assessment team to Guyana this week, with the goal of sharing best practices with the Guyana Defense Force to protect military networks from cyber attacks. According to the embassy, the visits by the U.S. Department of Justice and the U.S. Southern Command highlight the concerted efforts by the U.S. government to assist Guyana in establishing and developing a strong cybercrime and cybersecurity defense to support future development. While Guyana has cybercrime legislation in place, there have been complaints that it is often used by the current government to silence its critics and opposition members. The opposition APNU-AFC has repeatedly complained about the abuse of the legislation. Just last weekend, a U.S. congressional team visited Guyana for discussions with the government and the opposition on a wide range of issues, including cybercrime and national security. More news coming up in just a moment.
It's been a long time coming. Overdue, some might say. But now that it's here, it will change life forever. And it is here to stay. The future is now. Transforming Guyana into the 21st century. Introducing GTT Fiber. Experience internet connectivity like never before. Speeds you deserve at prices you can afford from a name you can trust. Sign up today. GTT Fiber is here. GTT. Together, we rise faster.
At Giftland Office Max, we're all about customer satisfaction. Whether it's clothing and shoes for the ladies, gents, and kids, or for the latest electronics or hardware appliance, we're always thinking of satisfying you, our dear customers. Now you can shop online at www.giftlandofficemax.com or visit us at the Giftland Mall, where we're happy to serve each and every one of you.
Fina, how you could get garden on today's pension day?
I collect my pension and went to the market since the 23rd.
How you mean?
I tell you, Levy switched to lodgement. Since me last book finished, I switched.
You join up a lodge? Was this lodgement?
The NIS lodgement system allows pensioners to get their pension into their bank account. The money is paid into the account by the 23rd of the month, so you could withdraw it whenever you like.
So wait, I ain't got to join no long line. Why you ain't tell me before?
Told you, Cleo. When you go to submit your life certificate, ask them for the allotment application form. When you complete it and the bank verify it, then NIS is going to process it. After they process it, your money will be in your account.
Well, all right, I going there now.
And don't forget, when you're carrying your life certificate, Ask them for the lodgement application form.
For further information, please visit the website at www.nis.org.gy, the National Insurance Scheme Facebook page, or your nearest NIS office.
Bust the flavors. We're full of flavors. Bust the flavors that me crave for. We're full of flavors. Tell your neighbors about the bust the flavors. Grab a bust the flavors. Yeah, thirst buster. Grab a buster. Bust the flavor, taste the savor. Bust the flavors. Bust the flavors.
Strong and solid in countries far and wide. New India Assurance, we're standing by your side. Golden service, half a century and more. New India Assurance, our policies are secure. From the heart of India, we serve these islands. The strength that you can trust, you're safe when you come to us.
New India Assurance Company. Assurance when you need it most.
For your home, motor or business insurance, visit New India Guyana office, 58 Brickdam next to Star Computers. Telephone 2260-415-7. Comfortable parking available.
Let's tell you now that a young attendant at a vulcanizing shop in Linden died today when a large tire exploded as he was preparing to patch it. The 20-year-old, identified as Deshaun Goddard, died on the spot after he was pitched across the floor at the Johnson vulcanizing shop in Caracara, Linden when the tire exploded. A co-worker at the site said the incident happened suddenly, and the explosion left the youth with a slash across his neck and parts to his face.
They told us that he was airing up a tire and the rim come out and fly out and slice his throat. Well, over a year. Yeah, over a year now he's there.
Police investigators are probing the tragic workplace accident, and the Labor Department has also been notified. The young attendant was not wearing any safety gear at the time of the incident. Another tragic story to report now. 45-year-old Agricola resident Kevin Trotman lost his life in a Sunday afternoon fire in 3rd Street, Agricola. The charred remains of the man were found among the debris of the house that was completely gutted. The fire service said it responded to calls about the fire just before 3 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. When firemen arrived at the scene, the entire 2-story wooden house was engulfed in flames. The blaze also spread to another nearby wooden building and gutted it completely. The fire service was able to source water from a fire hydrant in the area and control the blaze from spreading to other buildings. An investigation conducted by the fire service found that the fire was ignited by a young child who was playing with matches on a bed in the house. The mattress reportedly caught fire and quickly spread to other parts of the room and then the entire house. The Guyana Fire Service is reminding parents and caregivers of young children to always have them on the watchful eyes and to also let them know of the dangers of fire. More homeowners are also being encouraged to install smoke detectors and fire extinguishers in their homes. The Guyana Human Rights Association is not letting up in its earlier position for the government to put a pause on the e-identification card contract, which was recently signed with a German company. In addition to raising procurement concerns, the human rights body has also questioned the introduction of the e-identification card without data protection legislation. The signed contract is valued at more than $35 million. But the finance ministry late last week dodged the questions raised by the human rights body and instead launched a scathing attack on the organization's head, Mike McCormack, and the work of the organization. In a response today, the human rights body said the finance ministry chose to completely ignore the substance of its concerns and instead focused on slandering the organization. The GHRA said all of the allegations made about the body, its executive board, finances, political impartiality, and legitimacy of its elections are false and baseless. The group said the continuous hostility and vindictiveness of the current government towards any criticism emanating from civil society is sufficient for the Human Rights Agency and others to ensure they have all their ducks in a row, as so far as routine legal and financial matters are concerned. The finance minister last week said the GHRA was woefully quiet in the aftermath of the 2020 elections and questioned the body's political stance. The GHRA today said while the minister recounted all of the misconduct the GHRA supposedly never addressed during the APNU-AFC government, he himself knows nothing of it firsthand, having scuttled away immediately after the 2015 elections, only to resurface after the PP won the elections in 2020. The GHRA said that no doubt accounts for his parroting the untruths that GHRA issued no press statements on the electoral shambles. The GHRA said the PP civic administration has achieved little economically to lift people out of poverty and continues to hide from inclusive politics. The political opposition has also raised questions about the multi-million US dollar contract for the e-identification card, and there being no consultations before the contract was signed and the move introduced.
You taste the cheese, you hear the crunch. Grab a zoomers and zoom into fun. And with the first taste, you feel like you don't want it done. Blast off to a whole new place with every single bite. The cheesy goodness bring your taste buds alive. So let's just zoom into fun with this wheel-shaped light. Zoomers, zoomers, zoom into fun.
Guyana, ride into the future with the next generation eco-friendly Axiom installed elevators and escalators. Call us today on telephone number 619-0899 or 648-0934. Email us at axiomliftsgy@gmail.com for affordable elevators, escalators, moving walks, industrial lifts, home solutions, modernization, repair, and servicing. Axiom Elevator Services, technology for people on the move.
Traits Management, Structure, and Cashmere Rosé presents Sundress Soiree, Champagne and Cocktail Event, Saturday, April 8th at Everest Cricket Ground. Contribution $8,000. This is a day into night event. Doors open from 3 p.m. to 1 a.m. Free. Cocktail hour, 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. Sundress Soiree. You know the vibes.
As part of the implementation of its single electronic identification system, the government will be required to capture citizens' biometric data. And according to Elections Commissioner Vincent Alexander, that data could be used at polling stations to eliminate the age-old issue of fraudulent voting. Though expressing significant concern over government's failure to consult the Elections Commission on the implementation of the electronic identification system and the absence of a legal framework to guarantee data protection and cybersecurity, Commissioner Alexander said if implemented with the requisite safeguards in place, the integrated electronic system could lend to the production of a voters list and even the use of biometrics at the place of poll during the conduct of local, regional, and general elections.
And one of the problems the electoral process has is the use of ID cards by persons who are not authorized, hence fraudulent and substitute voting. If this card is used with its biometric feature, we can well get to the situation where at the place of poll we can have electronic identification, and therefore we can be addressing the problem which has been raised, the problem which has been ignored of multiple voting at elections. And that's a fundamental issue for our democracy.
The issue of the use of biometrics at polling stations has been engaging the attention of the Elections Commission for some time now. In an attempt to accelerate the process, Commissioner Alexander last August tabled a motion calling on the Elections Commission to recommend to the government that biometrics be considered as it takes legislative steps to reform Guyana's electoral system. He argued then that the introduction of a biometric identification system at the place of poll can enhance the system of identifying voters at a time when the country is faced with numerous allegations of vote impersonation. However, the Commission, in a majority decision, said that a feasibility study should first be done. But since then, there has been no movement on the matter. And according to Commissioner Alexander, it is unclear whether the government will extend the electronic identification system to GCOM. He said though the approach taken by the government is opaque, one would believe that a single electronic identification system would result in the establishment of a national database that would be accessible to various national service providers. GCOM, he said, should seek to access citizens' biometric data, including their fingerprints, for use during elections.
And so one of the things GCOM would seek to have is the fingerprints. So the GCOM can download those fingerprints at the place of poll in standalone machines. You come, you have your ID card, you state your name, the information for the person whose name you state comes up, you check the fingerprints and verify that this is indeed the right person, and so you eliminate the possibility of people bringing in ID cards and voting for others.
Currently, GCOM utilizes a biometric system to capture and cross-match the fingerprints of individuals during the voter registration process to prevent the duplication of registrants. However, in a statement last December, the chairman of the Elections Commission, Justice Claude Singh, expressed concern that the use of biometric systems at polling stations may result in a breach of the Constitution. Police investigators in the West Bank of the Demerara are probing the death of a Stanleytown man who was run over by a car as he was lying on the roadway. A police report said the incident took place at around 10:30 on Saturday night along the Stanleytown Public Road on the West Bank of the Demerara. The driver of the motorcar told investigators he was driving along the roadway in an eastern direction when his left side front wheel ran over the man, who appeared to have been intoxicated and sleeping on the roadway. The injured man was immediately picked up and taken to the West Demerara Hospital, but he was pronounced dead on arrival. He has since been identified as Kelson Ferreira of Stanleytown. The driver of the car was taken into police custody as part of the investigations. A mother of three is in police custody and is expected to face murder charges this week over the stabbing death of her reputed husband on Saturday morning. The dead man has been identified as 23-year-old construction worker Ethan Hamilton. A police statement said Hamilton and the mother of his three children, Alian Lewis, shared a 4th Street Albertown home. An aunt of the man said she was in the kitchen of the same house when the man emerged from the bedroom clutching his abdomen while telling her that he had been stabbed by his reputed wife. The reputed wife, Alian Lewis, was later seen coming out of the room with a knife in her hands. The aunt said she summoned the man's mother and they got a taxi to rush him to the nearby Georgetown Hospital, where he was admitted to emergency care. However, he passed away from his injuries while being treated. The suspect was arrested and remains in police custody. Relatives of the dead man said when they questioned the woman about what triggered the stabbing, she did not answer their queries. Investigations are ongoing tonight.
Food Max Supermarket, located on the ground floor of the Giftland Mall, is your one-stop shop for all your grocery needs. We stock a variety of imported frozen meat and food products, fresh produce, and pet supplies, freshly made bread. Rotisserie chicken and patties are also available daily. Shop in comfort today at Food Max and let our courteous staff assist you in satisfying your shopping needs. Food Max, the fresh food specialist.
It's one of your biggest goals, getting your own home, where memories are made, where happiness lives. You may feel that home ownership or renovation is beyond your reach, but we at Republic want you to know that there's always a way. Ask us about our suite of mortgages. Let's help make your housing wishes come true. Or advise on how the equity in your existing home can finance other dreams and goals. Call or go online to learn more.
Look who's in the mix now. The new Buster Soda Water. 0 calories, 0 sugar, 0 artificial flavors. 100% refreshing. Taste Buster Soda Water today. Buster Soda Water. Now available for only $120.
Fuel it up and drive, Super 95. Tune up. Fuel it up and drive, Super 95. Tune up. Protect your fuel system, boy. High mileage and performance, boy.
Guy Oil Super 95 gasoline gives you more reasons to drive and is available at 56 service stations nationwide. For affordable price, high performance, and high mileage, choose Guy Oil's Super 95 gasoline.
Fuel it up and drive.
Across the region tonight, the United States is trying to discourage Honduras from following through on its plan to switch diplomatic allegiance from Taiwan to China. The ongoing U.S. diplomatic pressure comes after the Honduran president, Xiomara Castro, said last week that her country would establish formal ties with China, following up on a pledge she made in her presidential campaign in 2021. Then in 2022, her government appeared to walk back the policy. Officials and former officials from the U.S. and several Central American countries said Castro's provisional announcement contrasted with how countries in Latin America have tended to make public shifts in allegiance and alliance from China to Taiwan. In another unusual turn, Honduras' ambassador to Taiwan, Harold Burgos, met with the Taiwanese foreign ministry officials last Wednesday after the president's announcement, something which Nicaragua's ambassador had declined to do during her country's switch in 2021. Two diplomatic sources have said. The Reuters news agency said it could not ascertain the outcome of the meeting. The Caribbean Media Corporation is reporting tonight that the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Teachers Union and the Public Service Union have called on public sector workers to protest outside the financial complex against the government's decision to appeal last week's High Court decision in the vaccine mandate trial. The Police Welfare Association, whose industrial action options are limited by law, welcomed the ruling by Justice Esco Henry and called on the government to accept the court order. In its ruling, the High Court said public sector workers dismissed under the mandate never cease to be employed and are entitled to all of their wages and other benefits. Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves said retired jurists are among those who, he said, are questioning the implication of the decision of the court in the vaccine case. Speaking on a radio program, the Prime Minister reiterated that his government would appeal the court ruling and would also ask the court to stay the execution of the judgment. Gonsalves said the government's decision to appeal should not come as news. An official of the workers' union said the vaccine mandate, which came into effect on the statutory rule in Order Number 28 of 2021, passed by the Cabinet, threatened workers' fundamental rights. And finally tonight, international news. Russian President Vladimir Putin has said he will discuss the Chinese president's 12-point plan to settle the acute crisis in Ukraine during a highly anticipated visit to Moscow by the Chinese president today. China released a plan to end the war last month, which includes ceasing hostilities and resuming peace talks. But on Friday, the U.S. warned that the peace plan could be a stalling tactic. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said the world should not be fooled by any tactical move by Russia, supported by China or any other country, to freeze the war on its own terms. He added that calling for a ceasefire does not include the removal of Russian forces from Ukrainian territory would effectively be supporting the ratification of the Russian conquest. China's plan did not specifically state that Russia must withdraw from Ukraine, which Ukraine has insisted as a precondition for any talks. Instead, it talked of respecting the sovereignty of all countries. The plan also condemned the usage of unilateral sanctions, seen as a veiled criticism of Ukraine's allies in the West. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting and encouraging you to stay safe.